Now we have a session on connected packaging, revolutionizing product experience. I would like to invite Ravi Sundararajan, Chief Operating Officer, Gupshup, to share some insights and what Gupshup is doing around connected packaging.
Hi, everyone. Hope you're having a great conference. The topic we plan to address today is how connected packaging is revolutionizing the product experience. So what's been happening around us? There have been few events that have happened and few trends that have actually changed the way customers interact with brands. The three main things that happen, especially in the context of emerging markets and markets like India, is consumers have become used to getting their services kind of where they are. Because it's people are expecting, always on, always connected. With the pandemic, a lot of these services have gone remote, and then also access to data has become really cheap. People like with the with 4G and Geo and a whole bunch of other things, the data rates some are cheapest in India and a lot of the other emerging markets. So people have a lot of access to data. They're on mobile. They're remote. So and because of that, a lot of the services that they consume are being done through mobile engagement, which is interactive and personalized. So now they expect kind of personalized. So brands have to kind of give a personalized care to all the consumers. You may have millions of customers, but those million customers have to be treated in a personalized one-on-one manner. So it's one-on-one in scale, one-on-one with everyone is kind of the new way brands have to interact with their consumers. So the interactiveness, the responsiveness, and the personalization is here to stay. Consumers are expecting that. And so that is a big trend that which kind of is going to drive what all brands do in any strategy that you have to kind of engage your customers and consumers. So, and what's happening is, given this trend, how do we go, what are the options available? Typically, we started off with websites in the 90s and 2000s. And in 2000, mid 2000, early 2010 onwards, last 15, 17 years has been more about the apps, right? You have huge apps like Uber and, you have various apps even in India and all that stuff. So people download these apps to get certain services, but there's only so many apps that you can download. There's screen space is kind of occupied by these things, right? So even in India, like a lot of the banking guys came up with apps, or the e-commerce guys came up with apps. There's so many apps, but all of these together just have a few million people. If you look at ICICI, HDFC, Citibank, Flipkart, all these guys, right? So there are certain apps that have become integral, and only those apps are there, but nobody can download 5 banking or 10 banking apps or 10 e-commerce apps or 10 payment apps. And so it all becomes quite onerous, and especially the screen space is very limited, especially in tier 2 and tier 3 cities in India, where screen space and memory is very limited. People, in fact, they'll download certain app that they're interested in, get the promotions or whatever, and uninstall it, and then interact with them through WhatsApp, right? So there's an app fatigue, and there's only so much you can do because consumers don't want to keep downloading new apps. There were certain apps that become super apps, and they're here to stay, and everything is being done through those apps. So the common app that everybody has now, and they want to do everything, is messaging. Because if you look at it, India skipped, it was, desktop, we skipped the kind of laptop thing. We went directly to mobile. So we didn't do much of a desktop laptop thing. So here what we do is, billion people have mobile, over 600 million people on smartphones, and the engagement happens on mobile, right? And what is the number one thing you do on mobile? You kind of text, right? You do messaging. You do messaging through simple text or WhatsApp or Instagram, or even your Facebook and LinkedIn, and all the other engagement is through some of these mobile apps. So mobile is becoming kind of very key, and messaging apps is where the consumers are. So to have any proper consumer strategy, you have to go where the consumers are, or any consumer mobile engagement strategy or a consumer strategy, engagement strategy. It has to be on mobile, and mobile, it's on messaging apps. So that has to be part of the strategy. So having said that, if the question is, if your product could speak, what would it say? Right? Today, if you had a product and be it a consumer goods product or whatever product, what would the product say? So the kind of 53% of the consumers say that they would pay more for a connected product. So what is a connected product? What does it exactly mean, right? So any product could become a connected product. In fact, there's a company called Flowcode in US started by the ex CEO of AOL, Yahoo, Armstrong, and it's called, uh, they do QR codes, right? It's called Flowcode. So what happens here is that with QR codes, with NFC, with short URLs, with some web AR, you can actually carry a digital trigger. And with that, so you can have billboards which have these QR codes or on train stations or wherever you are, and you can just scan the QR code and then get on connected to the product. And then you create a dynamic experience where you can converse with the consumer. They want to know more about the product, more about the thing that's there. And then you can look at various things, right? And then you can kind of look at make it, because they are the ones, it's a pull-based thing. You can make it contextual, location-based, look at what the trends are, what they want to do. And so any product can actually be tagged with a digital trigger and become a connected product. So that's what we mean by a connected product. And now what is connected packaging? Because this is kind of, we're talking about supply chain and packaging. And in the world of IoT, there are so many things that are going on where you can actually make a lot of your devices and all the other things connected and also communicate with each other and with various other devices that you have in the ecosystem. So what we mean by connected packaging here is that you are enabling a brand to consumer engagement via the internet or smartphone, focusing on an experience to to deliver from a product environment, from the environment that they are, the information that they need about the product. When you use your digital trigger to know more about the product, you actually kind of are able to get the trigger and look at it, and so create a more immersive AR environment, right? So, and immersive AR, VR, DR, all the other stuff, even metaverse and all the stuff. What they say is it's more about how do you kind of create this experience where people can actually understand more about the things that they're interested in and have a simulated experience, right? So that's kind of what it is. So when you have connected packaging, so you create digital entry points, digital triggers, and you create these engagements so people can actually, engage, ways of tracking and measuring these things where people can engage. And it's a way for customers to actually interact and transact. So that becomes very important. And that's how connected packaging helps, right? So those are some of the, that's what we mean by connected packaging and by connected products. So that hope you understand kind of what we mean by that when we talk about these things, right? So, and let's take a simple thing, right? In China, right? In China, 50% of the users scan QR codes. In developed markets like US, where we have this startup that I talked to you about, where it's actually a unicorn, it's one of the more hottest startups in New York area, the East Coast area, where, but still there are only 11 million households will scan a QR code in USA in 2020 and 2021, it's lesser. But, and same with, in Western markets in Americas, which is US and South America, North America, and then in Europe also, it's about 7-8%, right? Whereas it's much more in places, emerging markets like China, and also Southeast Asia will become the largest region to scan QR codes. It's just getting started. And obviously, even markets like Australia, where there's a huge mobile penetration, this is going to be huge. So QR codes is one way of driving connected packaging. So you can embed these QR codes and create a kind of a very interactive digital experience where the code is scanned and delivered, and then interactive experience is led. And in fact, now it's very common when you're delivering packaging and a whole bunch of other stuff. Embedding QR codes is becoming very common for you to do, and then eventually use that as an organic entry point to create a digital interface, leading to a lot of brand interactions, right? So that's one example of a trigger point. Obviously, as I told you before, we have various other trigger points where we talked about NFCs and various other digital triggers that you have, where people can look at it and create an experience. And when people come to use this digital interface to kind of get the product information or want to interact or want to know more about it, it kind of becomes a way of, sometimes it's a post-purchase journey. You've got the product, you like it, you want to know more about other things, connected products that are there or related products where people can use it to upsell or cross-sell. The other thing is they just want to know about the products they've got so that later on you can do a repurchase, trigger it back into a purchase journey, right? Or it could be a loyalty where you create a reward for getting the product. And you say, hey, you do this, you share this, and you get so much discount or so on and so forth. So it could try into the various journeys that you have, be it pre-purchase, purchase, or post-purchase journey, we're creating a greater level of satisfaction and creating that, and also create an immersive experience about your product. Depends on the type of a product. Sometimes if it's a apparel or something, like you can say, hey, this is how you would look, this is how you can customize it, personalize it. If it's something else, you create an experience, or then you add on and you can upsell, cross-sell, do a whole bunch of other things. And so that's how connected packaging kind of ties into some of these things. So when you have, we talked about how connected packaging is there, it triggers these journeys, right? And the journeys are, basically conversational journeys, and they get triggered on the popular messaging apps like WhatsApp, like Instagram, and so on and so forth. And that's where most of the consumers are. WhatsApp, there are about 2 billion people downloading WhatsApp. Of the 2 billion people, about 180 million people are actually conversing with their businesses on WhatsApp. So that is pretty huge, right? So given that, you can actually create these great experiences, be it pre-purchase, purchase, post-purchase journeys, which you're coming in from the connected packaging or connected experience goods. And so I do that. And also, 90% of the users on Instagram follow businesses. Very loyal D2C brand engagement on Instagram. And when we did a survey, 85% of the consumers agree that interacting with the business over messaging is a way to kind of build a relationship and stay connected. So what connected packaging can do, and especially in the context of supply chain and using some of these digital triggers, is you're creating a whole journey where initially you go in through these codes or other digital triggers that you have from various other mediums. You have an organic entry point. You understand your product, create an immersive experience for the product, engage the customer, create these loyalty programs. And then that will lead to kind of purchase journeys where they say, now that I've done enough research, I've got the product, it's customized, it's personalized, it's interactive, and I can do it whenever I want. It's always on. So given that you've got into this loop of creating conversational engagement on the medium where the customers are, which is the mobile medium, and where mobile apps or mobile messaging medium, and there you can get into it. And then people sometimes have these, when you have a lot of these things that are alerts or information that's more contextual, more timely, more personalized, it leads to kind of purchase. And sometimes we have multiple journeys that people who are buying certain things immediately will get an offer. And now, as you know, India, several unicorns, fintech companies are going public, and also they've become unicorns. Startups are becoming unicorns, and unicorns going public. And we have like 100 unicorns. And we have, in fact, the last 2 years, we had a unicorn, 3 or 4 unicorns every month. All of these in fintech. They've kind of disaggregated industry where you can access to capital is becoming much more important. You don't have a bank account in tier 2, tier 3 cities. Companies like Credit B and some of that, you can just get any access to loan. There are people who also offering for merchants. UPI payments has completely gone. The billions of UPI transactions happening. You don't have to have online accounts or bank accounts to do that, or credit cards. So you don't have a card on file. So the whole thing is changing even in the payment area. And then you can, when people are in these journeys, you can get contextual offers. If they're trying to buy a product, these fintech disaggregators, what you call the metaverse of fintech, they create these offers, and using that you can make payments, and then you get into kind of make sure that the delivery is tracked through these triggers, and it's make sure that they get what they want and they have a good experience when they open these things. So that's kind of what is happening. So the whole experience, you're using connected packaging and a whole bunch of other things to leverage a conversational messaging experience to enable a personalized, the experience to be personalized, interactive, and always on. So this is huge. It's completely transformed the way people look at these things. And you can go through the entire life cycle, pre-purchase, purchase, post-purchase journey, and take the customer along and make sure that they get a really great experiences. So what this does is, which is a simple thing, we've shown you, we've taken the example of QR code, but there are various other digital triggers that we talked about earlier. Through that, you're making your product talk. It's conversing, because they say, hey, no, I like this product. I want to know more about this thing. What are the related products? How are the other use cases? You can embed videos in these connected experiences when they come in and say, this is how you need to use the product. This is where you'll get the most value out of your product. And so these triggers help a lot and make you, have these two-way conversations using chatbots and messaging apps, using conversational AI, conversational engagement, to give a whole complete user experience that is that not only improves your customer satisfaction, improves your NPS, be able to upsell, cross-sell a lot more, increases your revenues and reduces your cost, because now you don't even have to have, you can have also complicated interactions, can go from a chatbot to a agent, live agent, and then they can take over. So all these journeys are possible to make a really delightful product experience and a product lifecycle experience. So hope your customers, hope you are all ready to meet where your customers are. Your customers are waiting for you on the mobile engagement mediums such as messaging apps and other popular mobile mediums, including voice and text messaging, and all the popular apps like WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook Messenger, Google Business Messages, and so on and so forth. So hope you have a great conference. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Sundararajan, for such an informative session. Dear viewers, keep sharing the session highlights on social media using the hashtag ETRetailSCS.